Greetings, Ghoul Gang! It is me, Lich, and it has been a while since my last YouTube video. I mean, okay, it's been about 4 years since my last YouTube video. That is my bad. But I'm back now, and what better way to end my YouTube hiatus than with a blast from the past, a return to the before times, a brand new Animal Crossing island. Don't worry, for those of you familiar with my old island Snugshore, this video is possible today due to the kindness of my friend Green Peppers. So Snugshore still exists, but I'm currently using Green Peppers' Switch in order to start a new island, a return to the glory days, the one good thing to come out of March 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Speaking of which, God, it's been a long time. So, many folks on Twitch tuning into this will probably be familiar with just my whole general life situation, but for anyone who hasn't been here before, or maybe hasn't tuned in since I stopped doing YouTube videos beforehand, quite outside of the whole global situation of the last few years, I have completed my PhD, so I'm officially now Doctor of Video Games. I left my horrible old retail job that I referred to in previous videos, and like I said before, I've been consistently streaming on Twitch, so the content has still been coming, just through a different medium. With that in mind, I've actually been meaning to come back to YouTube for a while, and I kept telling myself that 2022 was gonna be the year. I was kind of thinking, you know, done with my studies, the world would be my oyster, and I'd have all the free time in the world. Obviously, that was preposterous. It turns out burnout is a thing, and I had it. And maybe I still do have it, I'm not sure. But it's taken me until now to finally feel energetic enough to pursue the goals I set for myself at the start of the year. Talking of goals, our first task is to select which island layout appeals to us the most. My goal was to select one there where the resident services was a bit further away from the airport, because on Snugshore, the resident services is basically right outside the airport, and I've always been jealous of islands that were able to have these big, sprawling welcome areas between the two. Plus, I don't know if you spotted it, but there's a little heart-shaped pond in the island that I picked, so that appealed to me on an emotional level. Okay, our first aerial shot of the island, and it's also the first opportunity to check out the local fruit. It is peaches! I'm perfectly okay with that. Part of me was hoping for something different because peaches are also the native plant to Snugshore, but they are one of my favourite fruits in real life, so I don't mind seeing them here. Also, here are our first two islanders. We have got Sparrow and Fuchsia. Not two characters who I feel particularly enamoured with, definitely not my normal first choices, but I'm just happy to see new faces. Just in case it wasn't obvious, I'm actually recording this audio after the fact, so I'm kind of reacting to events that have already occurred. I also have edited down some of the early day content, because we don't need to see Tom Nook go through his usual "welcome to the island, it kind of sucks, sorry it's a tip" speech. We know it sucks right now. We want to get exploring the island and deciding where to put our tent. Here we have our first chance to have a look at the island. I obviously we saw it from above in the map selection screen, but this is our first chance on the ground. So it seems that the first accessible area of the island is a kind of square shape bordered by the river. I really like the beach area here, and then once we go over to the left a tad, you can see there's actually another really cute little beach area. I don't have anything like that on Snugshore, so I was actually really tempted to put my tent there just straight away. Look at this, it's adorable. However, I decided to check all of my options before ultimately coming to a decision. Something about this island layout made me think that it would be cute to start out with a beach tent and a beach house to begin with. So that's the plan. I ultimately walk down here and place my tent right here. Looks good to me. I'm so excited for this whole series. First mission completed. I also then go on to help Fuchsia place her tent. She actually wanted it to be further to the right, over the top of that peach tree there, and I very gently suggested that maybe move it a little bit over, so that way none of the local flora is chopped down for the purpose of her tent. Sparrow didn't need too much moving about. In fact, his spot was perfect. I just needed to give him a bit of encouragement to see through his vision. Also, I have a soft spot for jock villagers, so even though I don't love Sparrow's aesthetic very much, his kind of swellbro demeanor and his way of talking is very endearing, so I already feel like we're going to be good pals. As you can see, I've skipped ahead a little bit here. It's the evening of our first day on the island, so in between helping Sparrow and Fuchsia find where to place their tents, Tom Nook sent me on a little fetch quest to find sticks for the fire and peaches for sustenance. The only task left, I think, for the first day is coming up with the name for our island. Normally when it comes to naming anything in a video game, I'm so indecisive and I spend ages coming up with something that feels right. Like, I genuinely have looked on baby name generators and stuff like that before for things like Dungeons & Dragons characters. So I don't know why I decided to go with arguably a terrible name here, Burgertime, but that's what our island's called. Welcome to Burgertime, everybody. Unanimous applause. I love it. Brilliant start. And here is the part where Tom Nook signs us up to be Burgertime's resident representative. The person who does stuff on the island. Everyone else gets to have a chill time. I'm the one who runs around doing all the tasks. I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but honestly, that's fine by me. Because I want to say that I'm good at delegating, but there's nothing quite like the sense of achievement involved in completing something on your own with no one else about to mess it up. I can't trust Fuchsia and Sparrow to get this island shipshape. It's gotta come down to me. I just realized that the way I clipped this footage makes it seem like I had one drink of peach juice and then got absolutely blottoed and woke up in my tent the next morning without remembering anything. That is not the case, I promise. It was a one and done situation. I had one drink and got an early night. It makes it look like I had one sip and the rest of the night was like an absolute rager. I am far too boring for that, so that was not what happened. Here is Tom Nook giving us our Nook phone. One once again, I clipped this down a little bit because basically he's just giving us a little tutorial on all of the apps that we can use to help us out. This is big though. It means that we can get started on all of the various cool tasks around the island. I know it sounds kind of silly, but I'm really excited to get started with some of the chores involved in early game Animal Crossing. So things like collecting weeds, gathering sticks, shaking trees, stuff like that. It's stuff that in late game you just kind of ignore because you've already got kind of the resources built up. It feels a bit tedious to do it. But here, in the early game, there's something about it that feels new and exciting. That might just be me, but I'm looking forward to it. And now Tom Nook gives us the bill for our trip here, and just like in every Animal Crossing game ever, I can't afford to pay it. So I am briefly indebted to him. But this is 2022, and the idea of Tom Nook as a shady landlord is broke, but the idea of Tom Nook as a beloved philanthropist is woke. So, as you can see here, he realises that we're not in a position to pay with actual money. So he literally just makes up a currency on the spot and says we can pay him back in that instead. And what do you know? The currency that he creates is earned purely through living and existing on the island. Doesn't that sound good? I'm pretty happy with that. Yay, time to start exploring! So I begin the day by checking my post. As you can see, we have a little welcome gift from Nintendo. I think what they've sent me, let me just have a look here. Yes, it is a simple DIY workbench, but I don't know how to learn DIY recipes yet. So my first stop is, okay, first of all, my first stop is collecting these shells, and then I'm off to resident services. First task on the agenda for the day is learning how to use DIY recipes. So Nook is going to help us to craft a fishing rod. That means our first task is to collect the 5 tree branches we need to make that happen. Look at Fuchsia, she's already got a fishing rod sorted. This is what I get for sleeping in. This is my bad. I shouldn't have had that peach juice. It's clearly messed me up. So, that one's on me, folks. Fuchsia's got a head start on me there. And look at Sparrow in the background. He's made himself a bug net already. I mean, he's doing an abysmal job of catching anything with it, but we'll give him some pointers later because it turns out that I am actually very, very good at catching insects in this game. So, let's go. With our 5 branches collected already, we are immediately back to resident services to craft our very first fishing rod. This is really nice of Tom Nook. He just gives us a couple of other DIY recipes, including the bug net, just to get us started. It's very, very sweet of him. With that, I start going on a little bit of a tidying spree, mostly to earn Nook Miles and Bells. As you can see here, I'm collecting a lot of weeds, and next up, I go and shake a few peach trees for cash. Here's everything I have after our little spree. First step is we're going to go and craft ourselves a flimsy net, and then we're going to sell everything left over to Timmy or Tommy. I don't remember which is which. $5,420 bells. I feel like Tom Nook really should have just said we could just pay him back in bells, because we're already doing really well for ourselves, to be honest with you. Here I am using the Nook Stop for the first time. It's essentially a combination of like a cash machine with an online shopping service. I hopped straight into Nook Shopping, and the first thing I grabbed myself was some glasses. I can't see without them, so obviously I need to get them. I also got myself the KK album for the day, because the stock rotates, so it makes sense because it might not be there tomorrow. I also take a little cheeky glance at the Mario stuff. I'm definitely going to be coming back for some of the mushroom platforms later, as they are some of my favourite items in the game. I was also really pleased to see these t-shirts. They are super cute. I ordered one to arrive tomorrow so that I don't have to wear the boring default outfit anymore. Next up, one of my favourite activities in the game. A lot of bug catching. It's an easy way to make cash, and I prefer it to fishing. So, just to get my cards straight on the table, I am definitely more aligned with Flick in the game than CJ. Sorry CJ, but I much prefer catching bugs to catching fish. After a pretty successful little adventure going around the island collecting bugs, my flimsy net broke. They only last for, I think it's 10 bug catches, I think, which isn't bad considering it's made literally with 5 twigs, but still, I head back to Resident Services to sell them to Timmy once again. $6,260 bells for 10 bugs. Next step is exactly the same, but with fishing this time. Except, well, I don't know if you noticed, but, well, I don't know if we came to an island that is completely devoid of fish, or if Fuchsia caught them all already, but as you can see, it takes me a lot of meandering around before I find anything at all. Maybe they're all hiding from me. I eventually come across one shadow on the tiny beach to the left of the airport, so our first fish of the game is... a squid! Lots and lots of wandering around the island and fishing later. And my flimsy rod breaks. What do you know? I head back to Resident Services and sell my findings to Timmy once again. Now is a really good opportunity to look at my Nook Miles total. As you can see, we already have well over 2,000 Nook Miles, and I've got a bunch more that I need to collect as well. So we're going to have paid back Nook's loan in no time. He only wants 5,000 Nook Miles, so this is looking easy peasy. Plus, like I said before, you get Nook Miles just from doing stuff on the island that you'd be doing anyway. So, I mean, what was that one? Here. Catch 10 fish, get 300 miles. Don't mind if I do. So, at this point, I decide to take a little bit of a break from catching bugs and fish, and I decide, cheekily, I think to myself, wouldn't it be such a great idea to shake some trees? Because, as you can see, I'm being very carefree about this. Even though I know there are wasps about, my logic is, I was almost certain that you can get Nook Miles for the first time you get stung by a wasp. So, look at me here, cavalier, carefree, audaciously walking into a cloud of sharp lads, expecting myself to get rewarded with some cheeky little Nook Miles. No such luck. I misremembered. I really thought you got a reward for like a first time achievement of getting stung or something, but no. So, shamefully, I march back to resident services. I talk to Tom Nook and I'm like, Tom Nook, help me out here. Look at my face, I look dreadful. Turns out he doesn't care. I'm like, Nook, what should I do? I've been stung, what should I do? And he just starts talking to me about how I should try and catch more bugs. And I'm like, Nook, this is how I got into this situation in the first place. This is how I look like this now. Please help me. He doesn't help me. Dejected, I leave. I think to myself, I'll go and talk to the other islanders. Maybe Fuchsia will help me. Fuchsia doesn't give a damn. Fuchsia is purely focused on fishing for nothing. She barely glances at my face. Tommy also doesn't care. He's still talking about last night's rager. He is zero help. I start to think that all hope might be lost until I bump into Sparrow. Sparrow is less than kind to begin with, but even though he doesn't actually have any medicine, he does teach me how to make medicine. So, you know the saying, give a man a fish, and then I don't remember the rest. The point is, I now know how to make medicine, and I can heal my ugly face, so let's go. And look at this! I got some Nook Miles for talking to both of my villagers in one day, so in a roundabout way, getting stung by those wasps really did pay off. Let's just say I planned it that way. With my face freshly healed, I take one more trip outside to go and catch a few more bugs. I did pretty well for myself on this trip. Lots of bugs caught, and, well, let's just say plenty of near misses as well. Embarrassing. This time, though, instead of selling my bugs to Timmy, I go to Tom Nook with the intention of giving him 5 of the bugs I've found so that I can trigger Blathers visiting. Blathers is one of my favourite NPCs in Animal Crossing, so the prospect of getting him on just the first day is super exciting. However, I did remember after this that Blathers hates bugs, like, with a passion. So I probably traumatized him by sending him 5 bug specimens in the post. I was kind of picturing him opening an envelope and having all of these crickets and beetles fly out. So Blathers, please accept my formal apology. I promise that when you get to Burgertime, you're going to have a great time. But for now, that is my bad. I'm sorry. We've been tasked with picking a spot for Blathers' museum tent. I wasn't really sure where to put it, but I do remember that on Snugshaw, I found it beneficial to have it kind of near resident services, just to begin with so that everything's in the same place. So I plonk it down right here on the left, and I think it looks okay. We can always move it later if it turns out I don't like it. You look at Tom Nook, he's so helpful. One of the last things I do in this video is sell off the last few bits and bobs that I didn't give to Nook to collect a bit more cash in the meantime. I then hop on over to the Nook stop and buy a few more items. You're allowed to order 5 things per day from there, and I only ordered 3 earlier in the video, so I have 2 more items that I can snag. I have a glance through all of the Mario items, and ultimately I decide to get myself a large mushroom platform and a small mushroom platform, because I love them, and I just think they're neat. And with that, a quick glance over our Nook Miles to conclude our very first day on Burgertime. I am getting it done! I've already basically nearly paid off our entire debt. Okay, that's what we're going to call it for today's video. I really hope you've enjoyed tuning in. Like I said before, this is my first YouTube video in a really long time, so I'm sure there are plenty of improvements to be made. Any suggestions are greatly appreciated. I'm also planning to stick to a decorative theme for the island, so if you have any ideas about what kind of theme you would like to see, do comment below. Otherwise, please be sure to like and subscribe, and go follow me on Twitch too if you don't already. All the relevant links are in the video description, so have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!